Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nimbus DevOps, and we're going to simplify our decorators video that we did and go back to our decorator max result and talk about Decorator Factory. So we want to make it so we can decorate different functions with different thresholds, and we don't want to write one decorator for each threshold. So therefore, we have to amend the max result, this guy right here, so that it allows us to decorate functions by specifying the threshold dynamically. So what would that look like? Well, let's see. We got our function import wraps, define max result function at wraps function. We can do this a little bit differently. So let's say I just take out let's take out our time. Let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of this. Yeah, let's just get rid of that. And say define max results, and then we're going to make a threshold. So let's make a threshold, and then inside of here we're going to say define decorator and pass a function, and then say at wraps function, and then we're going to define this wrapper. Let me move all this in. All right, so then we're going to define a wrapper with args and keyword args, and we're going to store results with the function of args, keyword args. If result is greater than, and then instead of saying 100, we want to say threshold. Okay, and then we'll print result is too big, and then return the result and say max allowed is, and then we're going to dynamically pass in brackets threshold, just like that. And return our results, return our wrapper, and then return our decorator, just like that. And then let's take out measure, and we have a max result decorator, and we define our cube and return n cubed, and then let's just do 1. Let's just do 125 and print this. And in order to do this, though, you need a threshold, right? So in this case, we can actually pass this. Let's say it's 75. So I'm going to pass this, and then we can run it. Let me clear this screen. Result is too big, 125. Max allowed is threshold. Hey, how's it going? Let's make this parenthesized. Threshold? Did I do this right? Let me look here. I think I may have missed threshold. Okay. Print this result is result allowed is yeah, I should need this. Why is it not finding that? Return result, return wrapper, return decorator, max result. This looks correct, but it's not getting my max allowed is threshold. Oh, do I need an F? I'm an idiot. F. There we go. Max allowed is 75. It's always the little things. I don't care how long you've been doing this. So in this code, it shows you how to write a decorator factory. So let's talk about that. So if you recall, decorating a function with a decorator that takes an argument is the same as writing like function equals decorator for whatever, and we would decorate the cube with the max result. So in this case, we're doing it differently. So we call max result 75 on line 18, and we enter its body. Okay, so that's when we get into the body of that function on line 4. A decorator function is defined inside, which takes a function as its only argument. And inside that function, the usual decorator trick is performed. We define wrapper, inside of which we check the results of the original function's call. And this approach is kind of nice thing about it. It takes the innermost level, and we can still refer to both function and threshold, which allows us to set the threshold dynamically, which you can see is how I did that. So the wrapper function returns result, decorator returns wrapper, and max result returns decorator, which means that our cube, max result 75 cube, actually becomes cube equals decorator cube. So not just any decorator though, the one for which the threshold has a value of 75. And that is achieved by a mechanism called closure. So dynamically created functions are returned by other functions. That when that happens, that's called a closure. The main feature is they have full access to the variables and names defined in the local namespace where they were created, even though the enclosing function has returned and finished executing. So when we ran this example, we saw the result is too big, 125, max allowed is 75, and then it printed the result. And you can use this with different things, right? So if I said max result is this, return this. And I could take the same thing and then start using multiple iterations of this and say, hey, give me a max result of 100 and give me a cube. Give me a max result of 1000 and then pass a cube. So I could do, in this case, I could have a cube, but let's say in this one I want to make a square. I'm going to make a function called square and just square this. And I can square 5, right? So 5 squared. And I can give this maybe a multiply, like multiply function, and it'll take whatever n is and say, instead of return that, let's say we want to take two values, like multiply ab, and then return a times b, something like that. And every threshold is different, and every function is different. So you're decorating your functions with different thresholds, and it's dynamically using the same max result function, but I'm able to define what those max results are inside the decorator by passing that value to the decorator here as a way to do that. And not every decoration uses a different threshold value. You could make them the same or whatever. But anyways, decorators are really popular in Python. They're used very often and really make code simpler and more elegant. And I highly recommend, if you have a use case for it, to look into using that. And if you've seen at something in Python code, you now know what that is, what it does. And with that out of the way, decorator factories, and then just the deep dive on decorators, that is pretty much everything you need to know about decorators. So if you have any questions, let me know. And if not, then happy coding.